everyone. This is the first episode of Coffee Break, and I have two very special guests with me, Marcela and Gabriela. I'm so excited that you are here today. We are at 821 Modeling Studio. So I'm very thankful that you opened the doors to me, Marcela, and that you both said yes to this. This is the first one, so this is kind of a trial for me, but I'm very excited and very thankful for this opportunity.
No, thank you, Lulu.
We're going to talk about a great topic today, and we're going to talk about self-love. And I think it's a very interesting, difficult type of topic because we all know that we need to love each other and we need to love ourselves more than anything, but it's so hard to do it. I don't know if you girls agree, but in order for us to start talking about this topic, we first need to let these guests introduce themselves, tell us who you are, what you do.
So my name is Marcela Delgado. I am 21 years old and I am CEO here at 821 Modeling Studio. I'm also a student at TAMU, so hello, Those Devils.
We're all those devils here.
Yes.
Well, hello. My name is Gabriela Ramírez. Everybody calls me Gaby. So yes, you guys call me Gaby. I am a runway coach here at 821 Modeling Studio with Marcela. And I am also a student employee at the Office of Recruitment with TAMU. So like Marcela said, go test that one.
And also the founder.
Yes, and I am also the founder of Why Me Different is Beautiful.
That's awesome. Yay. Well, we're gonna get started with this topic, and I think we're gonna get started with Gaby. So I'm gonna ask questions to both of them. I mean, we all know what self-love means, but we want to know like what's beyond only just loving yourselves. So the first question is for you, Gaby. So I know Marcela since a long time ago, but I don't know you, and maybe the people that's hearing don't know you either. So I want to know who's Gaby, like personality-wise.
Absolutely. So one of my favorite colors is purple, and just to start it off with something fun. Fun fact, one of my favorite colors is purple, but I think that represents me super well because like there's always different shades of purple, right? Like there's like that dark purple, and I think when it's time to be serious and get down to the hard work, I can. And so I see myself as a very hard worker, very organized, very dedicated. But I do have my other side, and I'm super playful. I love to have fun. I love to hang out with my friends, and of course, like still be a teenager. I'm still a teenager, so I still like to do.
And so responsible for her age. I'm like, oh my gosh.
So yes, I do still like to do fun things. Go out shopping, go out to eat. I love to eat. Like I love to eat. I think I'm always eating, so that's something that's also something that I like to do. But definitely, I think I'm a very serious person when it comes down to it, but I do like to have a lot of fun. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that answer. Like I would never expect to like that you use that analogy. I think that's awesome. And I'm asking you, of course, to get to know you, but also I guess when we know each other, like when we actually get to ask ourselves like who we are, it's so helpful. I read something a few days ago where it said like you never stop getting to know yourself, and that's crazy because we are growing all the time, and we live experiences, and we get these experiences where like okay, so now I'm going to change routes or I'm going to change paths because something happened, something changed. So it's awesome that you know who you are. So that's good. So for both of you, tell me maybe 2-3 things that you're good at and 2 or 3 things that you're bad at.
So 3 things I'm good at. I'm very good at listening to others. I feel like that's one of the main things that I'm more like good at. My friends always call me, they always text me, you know, this is going on. More than any, you see, I chisme también. Thanks, chisme. And I like no, but also my students too. Another thing I feel I'm good at bonding with people. And I feel my students see that here too. And when usually everywhere, like I can talk to a 40-year-old, but I could also be talking and hanging out and doing TikTok dances with like a 6-year-old. So I feel that's such like a good characteristic that truly brings out the best in me. But also a great thing I'm good at, well, of course, modeling.
Okay, and in the bad side, like what are you not very good at?
Hombre, ¿dónde te digo? Soy bien acelerada. Yes. But as well, it's just like I feel that's also like it complements. It helps me. Like if we see the good side of our bad things, we can bring so many good things onto the table. And I just feel like, okay, what's one of them? Another one's like I'm a huge procrastinator.
Okay.
I'm very I'm very responsible when it gets to it, but I'm like, I'm not that one last minute person that works better when she's like turning in an assignment or working on it at like at 11:50 when it's 11:59.
We all like that acceleration.
Yeah, so, but I just feel like, I don't know, I get inspired. And another thing I might be bad at, well, it's sort of like a bad thing, but a good thing, because it allows me to go ahead and feel others' feelings and connections, and just, it allows me to have that bond. But also I'm very sentimental, and like I'm very fragile, so it's like, and I've been learning, as you mentioned, like at the beginning, like we grow and we're still growing, so it's like, who are we? And who we are just truly like keeps on evolving.
Yeah.
So I feel like I am fragile, but not as I used to be. I feel it's because of age and the experiences I've been through.
Sure.
But yeah, it's like me siento como es como que no son de vidrio, son de plástico. No también así. I do that analogy too.
I get you. Well, first of all, like in the good way, you have a huge responsibility with this girl. So like literally they rely on you and they see a role model in you. So I guess like having that good part of yourself and knowing that you're good at it makes you feel comfortable with it, get me? And in the bad side, like it's okay. Like we all have bad things and weaknesses, and we're gonna talk about yours jump spot as well. But it's also part of self-love, knowing that we're not perfect and that we don't have everything figured out. So I think it's good for you to know that you can work on that. My mom always calls these things like not weaknesses. She calls them areas of opportunity. And that's awesome. I know.
I love it.
Hi, Mom.
She's watching my stories sometimes.
But yeah, okay, definitely.
So the 3 things I think I'm good at. No, that I know I'm good at. I'm definitely a hard worker. I always say like I may not be the smartest. I do have a learning disability. I'm dyslexic. So I may not be the smartest, but I am going to get the work done, and I'm gonna make sure I do it the best. So I am competitive as well. But being hardworking is something that I do think is up there. It's top 3. Another thing I'm good at, I want to say, is my people skills. I'm like Marcela said, like I can talk to anybody, adapt to people.
We're right here.
Yes.
And the third would be adapting to change. So I believe that change is a huge thing that's always happening in my life, and it's always like, okay, how are we going to solve that problem and move on? I think that's what I'm very good at. I am a math major, so I do like solving problems. I do like solving problems, but it does get challenging at times, but I love the challenge. I love working hard for it. And it's always that rewarding feeling. When you know that you accomplished it, it's like, wow, like I did it. I accomplished it on my own. Exactly. So I think...
can't believe it.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
You're like,
and I love quick satisfaction. I want to get the job done as quick as possible, but I also want to do a great job. So I definitely do think those are my best 3 qualities. Now my other 3 qualities that are maybe not that good is I do enjoy talking a lot, and that would get me in trouble a lot when I was younger. Like, and I was always like, they were always calling my mom like, no sabe cómo parar, ¿verdad? And she was talking a lot. And I was like, no. They would go put me by the wall, and I was like, I'm still gonna talk to the wall.
No, we can make a good conversation.
I think I like to talk a lot, definitely. I do think that sometimes I can get distracted easily. Like if I see this, I'm like, oh my gosh. Then I see this, I'm like, wait, I'm distracted already. That's another thing that I think that it's not very fun. Like I start one task, I start another one, and I'm like, okay, when am I gonna finish them both? And like I started these 2 tasks and I can't finish them. And the third one would definitely have to be, I want to say procrastination, like Marcela. Like, literally, we were talking the other day for an event, and we're like, we'll go buy a dress like before the event. Like, it's not okay.
And then at night,
I think at 2 in the morning, we're like, it's fine. And
the day of the event, we both get with 2 dresses without us knowing. And they were just like, okay, which one do I wear? And I'm like, yeah, I brought 2 too.
Yeah, we brought
so
2
you know what's going on.
Yeah, so definitely procrastination. It's the pressure. I like being under the pressure, but
makes
you know how diamonds are made.
No, but I like the way you both talk about like good about it. I love how you said it, like good qualities that are not that perfect, and I love it because it's the truth. Like, we're not all of us good at everything, and I think that's what people should understand. Like, sometimes there's people that want for you to do everything so perfectly and do many things at the same time, and you're like, calm down, like, I'm a human being, I'm gonna screw up. And we all have our talents and our own, like, there's things that we don't know. Maybe like your dyslexia, like I didn't know about that. So like now that I know it, things change, get me? And I'm not gonna treat you differently. It's just that now I understand that things are different for you, get me? So I think if we all had the time to actually ask ourselves, like, what are we good at? What are we bad at? Things would be different for everybody. Like for everybody. But well, that's another thing. We're not here to change the world. So now this first question is for Marcela. And okay, Marcela, hopefully I'll explain myself good, but you have this world, right? You have the modeling, and you have this is your own studio. You should be very proud of it. I mean, you're super young, like, that's great. And I know you love this, and this is part of your self-love, because you're doing something that you love.
Yes.
Okay. But because you spend so much time here, and you do so many things in your field, then it's also, there's no time for Marcela Delgado. Right. So you're lacking that self-love as well. So how do you maintain that balance?
That's such a good question. I've never asked myself, but I felt it.
Okay.
and feeling like I love this. And those all of you who know me, they all know, like, okay, if you tell Marcela, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try, even though I'm so busy, I'm gonna try to make a spot for you. I've had girls that I've given them class like at 12 a.m. in the morning just because they have like an important competition the next day, or they have an important event and they want to feel confident. And of course me, I know what it feels like. I've been in their shoes. So I'm like, okay, if I'm able to provide that time for them and that just like emotional support for them to make them feel more confident, of course I'll be there. But of course, yes, like trying to find to balance within your life as well, and like, who is me? It's a little tough because like I'm also here and I'm the runway instructor too, and as well as like managing a business and then being a student, but then also having like your love life and having like family life that they want you to attend like to events too. You know what I mean? They want your presence, of course, because I mean they love you, and you're like the light in the room. I'm just kidding. But it's tough because then at times I'm like, okay, but what about homework, and then what about this? But then if I don't do this, then I won't be able to see this person. And I feel like sometimes my friendships, for instance, I don't see them as much. And they invite me to events and everything, but sometimes at times they're like, no, like, we already know Marcela's not gonna make it.
Oh yeah, sure.
And that's where sometimes I feel like, and once I've told myself, and I did tell myself, like, oh my god, I just wish I could be more of like a, like, be a student, and you know, and like just enjoy my age, because I am 21. But at the same time, when I've given myself, for instance, in summer or anything like that, and when I do have that time, I guess I'm not used to it. So I'm like,
and you're super bored.
I'm super bored, and I feel like what's going on in my life, I feel like it's such a mess.
And then I start thinking stuff that I should not.
That I should not be thinking. So I'm like, I just like at times like that, I'm like, no, I want my lifestyle back.
Yes, and I completely understand, because we are not living a common teenage or young adult life. And I'm not trying to say that like in order for me to brag. It's just it's different, it's hard, and those who are not in our shoes don't understand it. But at the same time, it's weird because you cannot complain about it because you choose it. So it's so hard, but I do understand. And I mean, I felt you the way you were saying it is whenever you're not doing something, you just feel like it's not you anymore. It's not you. So I mean, that's good that you find the balance, and it's hard. Don't forget about yourself.
It's so hard.
Maybe doing your nails to watching a movie or being with your significant other, whatever it is that makes you happy, then that's the time you're like, okay, I need to relax. And if you're there, be present, be mindful.
That's what I was saying that today. Like, okay, I know this is gonna be released later, but it's okay. But you had a presentation, and right now, as you were telling us, like, be mindful in the moment, and I kind of heard a story where you mentioned like, don't use your phone, like, be present in the moment. Also, like, and just like see everything, and I was like, wow, like that is so true too, because at times we're like, for instance, me, I might be, let's say, with my significant other, with my family, and at times I'm at a birthday reunion, and I have so many things to do. Like, I'm over here on my phone trying to take care of them, and I'm also thinking of them, and I'm like replying to emails here and this and that. So it's like, okay, am I really there? Or am I just like, you know what I mean?
And
like,
people feel that. So like maybe your significant other is gonna be like, oh, you never pay attention to me
And
anymore.
and like yes, like he knows. Like I'm one of those persons. Like when I'm with a person, I can't be like on my phone. But there's times that I have to, that I need to. But like he feels it. Like sometimes like, what are you doing? And I'm like,
You're like,
answering emails.
and I'm like, like sending emails. Like So, but I do feel it too, like my family too, like, ¿qué estás haciendo? Because they're so used to like giving my attention when I'm like there. So it's like, they tell me like, oh, and I'm like, oh yeah, you know, but also that's just how life is. And I think about it like before, and I'm like, is that how life used to be before? Everything is so fast.
I don't know.
Right
Actually,
now.
this is fun because yesterday I have another podcast with my mom. And we talk, in the house, because we talk so much that we were just like, why don't we do a podcast? We were like, okay. So we talk about different topics, and yesterday was living the moment. So it was like that, literally the topic that we're doing right now was what we talked about. And I asked her, like, when you were young, was this the life that you lived? And she said that it was kind of similar, but they lived it different. Like, they didn't have phones. Like, I think phones make our lives so much faster. And like, it doesn't work out in a second. Like, the internet's not good, and then we're just like
freaking out. Where's the internet?
Yes. My parents are internet providers, so like, they call them like a second. And we're like, how long have you been without internet? They're like, a minute. I'm like, calm down. So it's difficult. It's different for sure. But I mean, they live their own struggles, so it's okay. But yeah, definitely. I'm not here to give you advice. I'm here literally to listen to y'all. But if I could give you like just one little.
No, we love advice.
Yes.
Tell us advice. I love hearing you.
Thank you. Like the runaways and the things that you're doing, I'm just gonna invite you, like, take one moment out of whatever you're doing. When you're like literally super rushed, just stop for a second and look around and see what you've done and accomplished. And you're not gonna believe it.
You know what? That happened to us at the Cherish Center.
Did you do it?
Yes.
That's great.
We were there. We had a fashion show on Wednesday for children with disabilities. It was a great celebration as well because it happened to be that also we were celebrating World Down Syndrome Day. So we were there, but at the moment, like I don't know, there was a presentation playing, and there was like a song. It was like "Viva la Vida," I think, on the background by Coldplay. Coldplay gets me so emotional. I'm like, that song. Yes. So I heard it, and then I don't know, like I literally got the chills, and I was like, oh my god, like it's happening, like we're doing this. And I looked around, and I saw all the kids waiting, just excited, and I was like, little me will not believe
That this is going on.
that this is going on. It's
so true because I think I was telling Marcela too. Literally, we were standing here and I was like, oh wow, I like would have never thought that this is what my life would have looked like right now. Like never, like wow. But also I think it's like it was like, okay, run to the practice, get to practice, give the practice, leave, go to this, go to that. So you weren't like in the moment, but when it happened and you were standing waiting for it to happen, it was like, whoa, like it's happening.
And it was
like,
worth it.
Absolutely.
And it was like the satisfaction, like you mentioned, like, and as Gaby mentioned too, it's just like, I can't believe, like, little me would be so proud of me right now.
But it's awesome, like, and also don't take all like that moment of the event. I love telling this story super fast. So I had a quinceañera when I was 15, of course, and I love the process. I don't know if this makes sense, but like choosing the dress, and I had 15 chambelanes, right? So I loved it. And I'm a dancer, so I put the choreographies with my mom, and we had like all these things, and I mean like trying the food, you know, like all the things that I went through took me to the quinceañera, which was like what, 4 hours? That's basically it. So of course it was worth it. Of course I loved it. Of course I have a lot of pictures and a lot of great memories, but I will never forget the practices. I'll never forget staying late and talking to these guys and talking to my mom and dancing in my room with my mom in my PJs. You know, like before entering. Like those moments are the ones that count. So like as Gaby was saying, like you all run around and do a lot of things, and you're here, you're there, and you don't even understand what's going on. So
Like I feel like right now we haven't had a time to like sit down. And even like talk about it.
Yes.
Literally just until now. But do this and like talk about the event, talk about everyone, talk about how it like, you know what I mean? Because after the event, like I had school, so it's like I have a presentation going on, a project. So we wanted to go eat, but I was like, Gaby, I need to go to TMU. Like I have it at 4 p.m. So it's like I can't. So it's like we really hadn't had the moment, and it's like now going on. Okay, what's next? You know what I mean? And what's next?
Yes, it's always what's
So it is next.
Yes.
So it's
So
like
take the time to embrace.
right. It is important that you say so.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, we went super off topic. That's okay. That's what this is about. So the next question would be like, what do you think self-love is for you girls? And maybe we can start like now.
Definitely. I think self-love is a lot of things. I don't think there's just like one abstract thing of this is what self-love is. But I think self-love is more of a feeling that somebody gets. You know, it's something of you feeling proud about yourself, not feeling ashamed. Because if you're sitting there staring at the mirror and you really love what you're looking at, and I don't mean physically, I mean like you're really looking deep into your soul and you say, you know what, I love who I am and I don't care what anybody thinks. That is what it feels to be self-love, to have that self-love for you. But it also means to do things for yourself and like spend that time with yourself. Don't be afraid to be alone, and that's something that a lot of people struggle with. And having that quality time with yourself, spending that time alone, meditating, or just like you said, like living in the moment, going out in nature, and giving yourself that time as well to love who you are and love yourself and learn about yourself. I think all of those things together are self-love. But I do think that looking in the mirror, staring into your heart, into your soul, and reflecting and saying, you know what, I love who I am. Like my hair might be red, purple, blue, pink, or green, or I don't have hair or this, or you know, like you said, like I have dyslexia. I also was born with a facial deformity. I was born with a cleft lip. I've had 5 surgeries now, and so you say like that doesn't matter. Like none of that matters. Like not the way I was born, not the way that I look.
It doesn't define you.
Absolutely. And so that's why I say like staring into your heart, staring into your soul, like who you really are. I think that's what self-love looks like. It's like
This girl, look at her. Oh, wow, I love that.
And when I told her, like, I see
I
her,
feel like
like,
a problem.
no, and like, whenever I talk with her, I'm like, Gabi, sometimes I just can't believe you're 19. It's like,
Oh, you're so
what?
mature. That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But that was a great answer. What about you, Marcela?
So I'm gonna go ahead and like, I think self-love is also just like a coin. You know how we have both sides of a coin? I feel like that's what self-love is. Just like Gabriela mentioned, there's the good, but there's the bad. But that's what makes it self-love. You get what you mean? And without the bad things, you wouldn't really appreciate and you wouldn't really make up your self-love and going through that process and being like, okay, I'm here now. You know what I mean? But for me, self-love is truly just accepting you the way you are, but it's a huge process. And I feel like now more than ever with social media going on and seeing all these comparisons and comparing yourself to like this person's progress, but also like to these filters that they give us, and also like all the things we see, I feel like children, like if we look at them like in elementary schools and just they're like already on TikTok, they're already on Instagram, like these new generations are gonna be like, no sabes moverme ahí, yo sé editar esto. And that's such a good thing too, because like as you mentioned, like technology is so fast now and like it's so good, but also it's like, okay, it has its bad side too. Like it has its advantages, huge advantages, but also disadvantages, and that's one of them too, because these girls are like, I've seen them, like when we go to the career days, at times they're like, oh yes, but can we add a filter, you know what I mean? Or like a Snapchat filter.
Like they're used to it.
Yes.
So it's like, but you know what I mean? Like that's not real. Now that I know it, okay, I know it, but when I was little, I would be using these filters all the time. And I would be that girl that would be recording herself all the time, everywhere with those filters. So it can go both ways. Like the filters can be used for good too, but also like there's some children that they're like, oh my god, why don't I look this like this? Or they don't want to take a photo. Or sometimes they hide like under their hair, or
It becomes a burden for them.
it becomes a burden for them. So I feel like self-love, like a definition, there's not a definition specifically. I guess everyone takes it their own way. And that's what's important about it. Like I feel as you're growing, you're developing a newer kind of self-love too, but also you're learning how to manage it, and you're discovering so many sides of you that you can hug and you can love, and also new ones that, you know what, I need to improve on this.
Of course.
So like we practice here at the studio, just like Gabriela mentioned, looking into the mirror and like hugging yourself and like appreciating who you are. We do that here with the girls. Every time we put them in front of the mirror as a like form of confidence too. And I'm like, okay, you're gonna tell me 3 things you love about yourself as a person, as an individual, but also 3 things you love about yourself physically. And sometimes they take a moment and think about it.
Like struggle.
They struggle. And I'm like, and then sometimes I go up to them and they're like, I can't say anything.
Wow.
And I'm like, yeah, we are like, there's so many beautiful things about you that others see, but you don't see.
Oh, we're always our worst judges.
Yes. And it is not until like when other people brings it up to you and tells you, that's when you're like,
that you believe it.
That you believe it. And why is it that way? It should be the other way around. Like, it's like, amo mi cabello. You know what I mean? And there's things like that too, but there's also like, we need that approval from someone else so that we can make it to like love us. And that's when like self-love comes back. It's like, but you should love it first without anyone's approval. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's so hard. Self-love is very hard. And
it is a real topic.
And I completely agree with both of you. There's so many ways of loving yourself. I mean, since literally doing your hair, that's like a physical thing, and that's what you're gonna be seeing. But I also think, for example, I've learned in the past year maybe that putting like a limit and barriers into some things in your life is also called self-love. Like those people that you just put like away, friends that are not making you grow. Como dicen, no, que te sube y no te reste. Like taking out that people relationship wise, there's so many toxic
but it's so hard
out
because
there. Like just putting a limit to things, it's loving yourself. Well, now I'm gonna go to like, we're in the middle already of the podcast, even if you like time goes by fast. And I want to talk about y'all's project. So I don't know the story. How did it start? Tell me everything. I don't know. Maybe you want to start?
I think Gabby should start it.
Okay, awesome.
Okay. So my project is titled Why Me? Different is Beautiful. And let me tell you, it took me forever to finalize that name. Like, I was like, wait, no, this one. I'm very indecisive. Very indecisive. So I was like, no, wait, this sounds good. No, wait, this sounds good. And it is a long title. Originally, it was supposed to just be Why Me? But people were like, what do you mean, why me? So a little bit behind the name of Why Me? Different is Beautiful. We go back to staring or looking at ourselves in the mirror. And so when I was younger, like I mentioned, I was born with a cleft lip. This means that I was missing part of my lip when I was born, and my parents had no idea. So I was born in Austin, Texas, and when my mom had me, she had no idea, and so she freaked out. And my parents were almost in denial. They were in shock. They were like, what is this? They had to research. Thankfully, they had me at a very, very good hospital with a lot of great doctors. And they explained, and one of the doctors that I'll never forget, that they told my parents this, and they looked them in the eye and they told them, hey, your daughter is okay. Like, she has all her limbs. Like, she is fine. Like, you guys need to just calm down and take the moment and just be there for her. And so my mom was like, okay, you know what, you're right. Like, there's so many things to appreciate. She's gonna be okay. So I was born with a cleft lip. With all of that being said, I was missing part of my lip. With that comes the 5 different surgeries. So my first one was at 3 months. My second one was at 8 years old, 13, 14, and then 16. So I was always in and out of a hospital. That's why I say I don't fear them. I'm like comfortable in them, yes. Oddly enough. But yes, it's something that I was born with, and I was also diagnosed with dyslexia in the 2nd grade. It's very mild, but ask me to spell a word, and I'm sorry, I cannot spell a word for you. But that's it's okay, something. Exactly. I'm like, it's fine. We have Google now. It's something that I'm good. It's something that I've lived with forever. And I think when I was younger, it was very hard for me to embrace. It was I would always get, like, elementary students have no filter. No. At all. And they would always be like, what's wrong with your face? Or what's wrong with you? And I was like, one time I got so mad, and I was like, okay, everybody, like, it was, I don't know, show and tell. And I was like, this is what I used to look like, and this is what I look like now. Just so everybody knows, nobody asked me any more questions. Wow. And after that, everybody was like, oh, wow, okay, like, she's okay, like, there's nothing wrong with her, and there wasn't. So with that being said, those 2 things have always impacted my life. And I realized that it doesn't define me, but it also does. And I never had that person to look up to who was like, hey, like, look at this movie star, like, she has this or she has that. I just never found that person to, like, grasp and use and help inspire. And so I knew in my life I wanted to do something. So when I was younger, I would always ask myself, like, why me? Like, why was I picked to have this disability? Why did I, not only did you give me a facial deformity, but you also gave me a learning disability, like, oh my gosh, make it harder. And so I'm like, okay, like the obstacles don't stop. And so I would always stand in the mirror and I would say, why me? Like, why was I picked for this? And so now later in life, I know that it's not why me, it's why not me. Like, I was the one who was picked for a reason, because somebody knew that this was going to be for me and I was going to use it to inspire others. And so that's what I'm doing now. I opened this topic and it's called, this nonprofit organization, it's called Why Me? Different is Beautiful, because different is beautiful. And I was born with something completely different that not a lot of people, they hear it and they're like, wait, what's that? So that's why I say being different is beautiful. It's what defines you. It's who you are, because if we were all the same, it would be so boring.
So boring, of course.
And so my platform is to inspire others and to grow from each other, to share stories, to learn from one another, because if we don't ever say our story, we're never going to learn from each other. We're never going to get to know each other. And so having that topic of conversation, being there to inspire others, is such a beautiful feeling.
Yeah.
And to know that I was in that position once and now I'm not, and now I'm okay, and now I'm able to help others, is so, so beautiful. And so I decided, what better way to help others than a nonprofit organization. So I've had this organization now doing projects for almost a year now, and it's beautiful. I love it. I hope one day we grow more and more. And
yes, you will.
Yes. Thank you. And so that's just the whole thing, the whole story behind my nonprofit organization.
Well, congratulations.
I love it. I love it because it's like based from like
you.
personal experience, but then I also tell her, like, when she talked to me about it, I was like, Gaby, yes, and do this, and do this, and do this, and do this. I had so many ideas.
So much.
No, but it's all like, it's all been you. Because one can tell you do this, but if you don't do it, it's like, it's just gonna stay there. You know what I mean? It's all been you, and just like, I'm so shocked because like by her age, 19, and just being able to do all of this for the community. And whenever we go to elementary schools, they are like, whoa. So then when she shows a photo of her, that it's actually, I don't know if it's able to see in the camera.
Yeah, now you can bring it.
Yes, bring it. Whenever she shows a photo of her, they can't believe it. They're like, that was you?
That was born. Hi, look. This is how you look now. Not the same.
Still pretty.
But
Siempre hermosa.
Yes.
Sí.
So, yeah, people can't believe it. And then they're like, and you're a model. And it's like, that's the other thing.
Oh, that's a plus, of course.
And that's the other thing that, like, you never see models be like, we have a learning disability or a facial deformity. And it's like, no, but like, I do it, and you can, it doesn't matter. Like,
it doesn't matter.
Like, the standards are changing. And I'm so glad they're changing, because that needs to happen. I'm gonna put this up.
Of course.
Yes. No, and that's also like what I learned, like the camp I went to in New York, like all these models sharing their experiences, I was like, wow, like we literally, people have this like look of or conception or like definition of models, but behind it there's so many things. It's like you're shocked, you can't believe it, but we're all humans at the end, so of course we're gonna be like that. You know what I mean?
Yes, of course. And I mean, I guess not only accepting it, but actually doing something with it. It's the beautiful
using your voice
part.
for good.
Yes, of course. Like you can definitely be in your house watching TV, you know, if you want to. You don't owe me or anybody out there anything, and you're deciding to do that. It's a decision that you're doing and wanting to like do an effort out of it. Today, as you were saying, I gave a talk about philanthropy, and this is what philanthropy is, literally like helping others without expecting anything in return.
I was literally talking to my mom about that the other day, because she's like, oh my god, Gabriela, like you were on the news and you came on the newspaper, and I'm like, Mom, that's so great. But, like, I didn't need that, like you know, like I did it because I wanted to, and I did it because I didn't expect to be on the news. I didn't ask, you know, for somebody to come record me.
We did not.
It comes great.
We got
absolutely. And we're like, we're super thankful for that, and like I'm so glad that, you know, people are able to see that this is going on in Laredo.
But it's like we don't look for it.
Exactly. we didn't invite them. It's just like
and it happens. And it goes back to like what I was telling you, Luna, is that whenever me, for instance, whenever they invite me to events or anything like that, And it's a struggle I have with my mom too, and she tells me, it's like, why do you have to hide yourself? Like, tú brillas. Sin hacer nada brillas. That's what she tells me, and then I'm just like,
she's super tall.
but I'm like, and literally Gabi understands me because she's been at situations when I'm like, and it's and it's weird because I tell my students like the other way around. It's like, express who you are. Do not care for yourself, and it's a form of self-love too. You know what I mean? Like, be you, and do not limit yourself to things you want to do in life because you're only here once.
Okay, now Marcela, can you please tell us your part of the story and then like the connection between
Absolutely, we do need to get to the connection part because a lot of people don't know that.
Yes. So my part of the story, I was born in Laredo, but I was raised in Nuevo Laredo, and that is when I moved here to the U.S. As we know, here in Nuevo Laredo is very common, but also like we see it so common that sometimes we don't talk about the struggles within it. So when I moved here, it was like such like adapting to a new school system, to a new U.S. school system, and things I've never. I mean, of course, I had the privileges. I'm not gonna be, I've never been, because I did go to like a bilingual school across. But of course, like just coming here and being like, okay, this is so new to me. You know what I mean? So whenever we go to schools, I share my story, and I'm like, okay, how many of you are immigrants? And how many of you, because I remember we lived across, and it was so tough, because we would have to be like, I would have to wake up like at 5 a.m., literally, and I would be like so sleepy to be like in line and ready to cross here to the U.S. Because back then we didn't have Sentry, so it was like, oh my god. And then my dad had to come here to work too, so it was like, wow. And my dad, like, he was like, take a nap, you know what I mean? Take a nap. So I would be able to take a nap in the car, but as well, like, it would be tough, you know what I mean? I feel in a way that's like you're learning about the responsibility and things like that, and I guess that sometimes like no one talks about like, okay, you're a little girl,
like growing up fast.
Growing up fast, and learning how to be more responsible and learning, okay, they're gonna pick you up here and this and that, you know what I mean? And now coming back home super tired and take care of your brother if you go here and live here, you know what I mean? But then also, as I was growing, well, that was first, and then I made my group of friends here, you know what I mean? So it was awesome. They were all coming from Nuevo Laredo too. So we were like, yay, we were similar. We understood each other. So then after that, what happened is I had a life experience, which is the reason behind 821. My cousin, Alex, passed away at the age of 21. And it's been like tough as well, but of course it's in honor of her too, and that is the main reason why our studio is not only like a runway fashion show thing, but it's also more about heart, and that's where your heart kicks in. And sometimes we're talking about it and we say like, if there's times, you know how a business works and you're growing and growing and growing, but at first we were like, like you don't see any profit or anything like that. But that's when your love and I guess self-love too.
That's the investment.
Yes. That's the investment. Because you're like, you're doing this for your heart too. Because you know, like, things sometimes like maybe you wish you would have done, you weren't able to do, but now you're able to do them with other girls and like other students. So I feel like that's also like the way it pays off. And that's why I always tell them, like, more than a studio, like, we take care of so many. Like, we take care of them like if they're like our little sisters, our girls, my mom, my tia, they call them mis niñas. It's like we also get like very and like attached to them as well too. It's a connection, and just being able to see their progress too. Like whenever they join the studio and like literally 2 months, and they're like. They love one another, and they're like, oh my, and
you become a family.
Absolutely.
We become a family, but you know what? More than anything, we can tell in their eyes. Like sometimes a person might be smiling, but their eyes are the most like that's your reflection of how you feel, how you know what I mean. There's times when we fake a smile and we don't feel a smile.
Eyes don't lie.
But your eyes don't lie.
Yeah, it's definitely a sense of community because I think. My sense of community when I was younger was I was a Girl Scout for 13 years, so that was like my safe place. Like I knew there I was never gonna be judged. I knew those were like my true friends. At school, maybe wasn't like that. So I think coming here and giving that sense of community to girls is also so beautiful, and I see that a lot. It's like, okay, like I'm gonna come here because I'm not gonna be judged.
Right.
I'm not gonna
Yeah,
be.
and that's a way of self.
Uh-huh.
For sure.
And
Like
sometimes
mine.
people, and sometimes people have this other conception like, oh no, I don't want to model because you know what I mean. Like this, it's seen this way and it's seen the other
There's
way.
a stereotype.
There's a stereotype, and it's not like that. It's like you're gonna learn, just like dance. You need to learn. You know what I mean? There's some people, of course, that are naturally good at it, but
No, practice.
practice. Of course. And same thing within modeling. Like it's practice, practice, practice. And just as Gabriela said, like it's the community, because every time we have girls, it's like they walk in and they're with a smile, and we just love it. We like, oh, she's here already, and they're just so happy to be here, and that's truly what like warms your heart. It's like a form of self.
I think so. The way that we collaborated together was I began the studio.
Yes.
And funny story.
Yes. Tell them.
I came, I believe, within the month that they opened their studio through one of my friends who came out in their inauguration. And she was like, hey, Gabby, like, let's go model. And I was like, no, girlfriend. I was like,
Not for me.
That's not for me. I am not. Same thing. You go back and I'm like, I'm not tall enough. I'm not skinny enough. I'm not pretty enough. Like, I'm going to be a model. Like, no. So she ends up convincing me, and I'm like, okay, all right, I'll try it. So we do try the class. And I'm like still not that convinced. I was like, wow, like I thought I could walk in heels. I couldn't. I was like, this is not for me. And then I was like, wait, no, it was actually fun. And I actually enjoyed it. And it was more of like, no, like I'm going to make sure I can do this right. It's the competitive side that I talked about. I was like, I'm going to make sure I do this right. So I came back and I felt the love, I felt the welcome that Marcela puts here in her studio. And I learned more about the studio and the reasoning behind it. And I was like, no, like this is something I have to be part of. So I was here. I was here for about a year. And then slowly the pageant industry started coming up for me. And so I think that's when we started bonding a little bit more, learning more about each other.
You were living like the same experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely, that's what I think it was. And both of us just kind of clicked within our personality. It was like that friendship of not only is she like my runway instructor, but we also have
feel her.
friendship.
I mean, I can tell like you have like a good bond, like
Yes.
so that's good.
Yes, and it's super, super nice to have that friendship. So that's how it partially began. And I told Marcela about this vision that I had. And she was like, you have to do it. And I was like, okay, but like, no, like, how do I start? Like, what do you mean?
Do
like,
this, do this.
And I was like, okay, I'm going to take your advice. Like, I'm going to do it. So I began it, and we began it together. She gave me the advice. I started it. And it was like, you know what? Like, why not collaborate together? Right? That's like a powerhouse. Like, one way and the other. Like,
Both stories.
oh my goodness, forget it. So it was two things with a cause. There's nothing better than that.
Really,
That's
so much
great.
mental health
I love this
awareness.
story. It's awesome. I love it because it's very original, first of all. Second of all, you can see that you both enjoy it very much, and that it's something that you're like learning to do, because it's also like a process. You're gonna fail in the moment maybe, or you're gonna thrive. Like it's part of it. And well, I'm very glad that you're giving this to our community, because I think it's very needed and very well deserved. Because I told you at the beginning, there's a lot of beautiful people here in Laredo.
Yes.
We're gonna see more of these people in the podcast. And I mean, people like you that have this strong will in their heart, because it's something that you need to want to do.
Oh yes, I always tell Marcela, this is not easy. This is not for everybody, and that's okay. You know, like not everything is for everybody, but you need to have tough skin, but you also have to have a big heart.
Oh, I love that.
Yes. If you don't have
A big
either
heart.
or,
It's a love, and it's like everything we do. It's like we're doing it for the community, and it's purely like good intentions, and more than anything, like we have our stories behind, and that's the reason why. It's not like, oh, something we made up just because we want the TV, or we want to be on this, you know, or we want to be on this.
There's a
Like,
strong
what we're doing
reason
non-profitly.
Absolutely.
There's a strong reason behind it, and there's a message that we want to go ahead and show our community. But more than anything, hopefully later on in the future, being like
Yes,
we'll
sure, why
see.
not? The sky's the limit.
Yes.
Well, I don't want to cut it off, but there's people here already. We have a public now. Thank you all for being here at this podcast. So for us to close this, I told you at the very beginning I was going to ask you a question that I was thinking, like, how am I going to finish this podcast for everybody that's going to visit me? And the question is, like, what do you want to tell the world today? So whoever wants to start, it's just about anything. It can be any topic, anything that you want for the people to know.
Okay. So, what I would like to tell the world is to straight true to yourself, no matter the opinions of others. We were talking about it, but stay true to yourself. Do not change who you are just because also like the experiences you've gone through. Of course, they're gonna change you a little bit, but your essence is what truly defines you. And where you're staying true to yourself and you're becoming you, you're gonna start seeing all the beautiful things that you can do. Do not limit your dreams as well. Just because someone says they're too big, then that doesn't mean you can't accomplish them. Maybe that person has a small mind. So during, yeah, yeah, you gotta dream big. You gotta work hard as well. Of course, there's gonna be times when you cry, when you're like, you be like, oh, I can't keep going. But staying true to yourself is gonna be what's really gonna put you out there. It's gonna motivate you to accomplish all of those dreams. So stay true to yourself, because if I wouldn't have done so, I would not be here. Literally, I look back, I see my little me, and I would be like, oh my God, Marcela, she would be so proud. So, but staying true to yourself and believing in who you are will take you so many places. Don't ever want to.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lulu. Yay! Cheers.
Cheers. Okay,
Cheers.
Now we go, Gabby.
So something I want to tell the world,
Look at them.
to tell everybody, to tell the world, is that one, to never give up on yourself, because like Marcela said, if I would have given up when I was at my lowest, none of this would be possible. So I thank myself for actually hitting the lowest to see what it felt like, because now I never want to be in that position again, and I know that that just motivated me to be at my highest. So never give up, no matter how hard it gets. Make sure that you know that there's always going to be something better in life for you, that there's always going to be a purpose as to why you hit that low, because you have to hit that low in order to experience the high. And so I think that's what happened to me, is that I hit the low. Trust me, I hit the low, but it fueled that fire to hit the high. And so I'm experiencing that high and that love. And so like Marcela said, yes, stay true to yourself, be who you want to be. Like I said, self-love matters about your soul and about your heart. And when you look into the mirror and you really love that person, make sure that you always work towards that. So even if you're in that lowest low, I promise you will get out of there. You will find who you are, and you love who you are. So stay true to yourself and just never give up.
Cheers to that. Perfect. Well, this was the first episode about self-love. I really am very thankful for you both girls to give me the time of your day to talk about this. This is not going to be the last time for sure. And I'm open there for everybody, for us to talk about these topics, any other topic, anything that you're going through. I love meeting new people.
No, thank you so much, Lulu. It was an honor to be here.
It's an honor to have you here. Yes.
Do you want to tell your Instagrams or anything for you to share?
Yes. So you can follow us on Instagram as 821 Modeling Studio.
And you can follow mine as Why Me Different is Beautiful on Instagram.
All right, follow us on Instagram. If you want to come and join us and be part of our family.
Yes, and definitely, if you have any stories to share, I would love to, put them up on Why Me so others can learn. So go ahead and give us a DM if you have any questions. Yes.
Subscribe to this channel and continue liking and sharing.
Yes.
Bye.
Yay, we had a great time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, girls.
There we go.